Joining me now on the Knicks Film School Podcast, it's trade deadline week. So if you gave me a list of like 10,000 people I could have on this program right now to prepare us, he's number one on the list. I don't even know who I would have as number two on the list. Maybe Pat Riley. When do you not want to talk to Pat Riley? Ian Begley of SNY, host of The Putback. He is one of one. How are you, Ian?
Very, very, very kind of you to say, John. I appreciate it. I could send you a list of 10 easily that come ahead of me, but I appreciate you, man. I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, as we were speaking about before, doing okay. 2 weeks in, still in one piece. So this is good.
Amazing, man. Congratulations to you and your family.
Thank you so much. You are you're like the Joe Dumars with the two phones this week. So I'm going to get right to it. I know your time is valuable. Let's get right into it. Your most recent big report about where the Knicks stand heading into this deadline is, I'm going to use your words. I think you do not expect any big moves. And I am curious. I'm going to ask for right off the bat, I'm going to ask for your opinion on this. Do you think this is more about any kind of a stance that this front office is taking of like, we're going to be patient, we're going to be diligent, we're going to wait, and or do you just think there isn't that move out there that checks all the boxes of like maybe someone under contract, kind of youngish, not going to cost a ton of assets? Where do you think the front office lies right now in terms of maybe its mentality as they approach Thursday?
Yeah, I'm just going to reference kind of earlier this month what teams had said that had been in touch with the Knicks. And, I say that because things can change by the minute at the deadline. But I do think that there's no obvious deal out there that checks all those boxes that you referenced. And I think that's going to be the big swing when it's taken with Leon Rose in this group. It's going to be looking to make the trade for the player you described, player under contract for a while, young. Still ahead of his prime, and a player who they feel can really, jumpstart this thing. And I don't think that deal exists right now. Victor Oladipo, coming off the injury, has looked good to not so good to great, but hasn't been consistent. And he's going to be a free agent this offseason. So I don't see why you would give up a ton of assets to get him. Now, that being said, if the price for Oladipo becomes pennies on the dollar, maybe then it makes sense to make a play. But I don't get the sense that there's a big trade. When I say big trade, I mean a trade where you're giving up, a couple firsts and a bunch of players to get a star. I don't see that being in the cards before Thursday, the 25th.
So you mentioned Oladipo. Your old colleague at ESPN, Zach Lowe, had a report this morning kind of piggybacking off of a report, I believe it was from Shams earlier today, and Kevin O'Connor. Everybody's kind of saying the same thing in regards to Oladipo, which is that he is a player who the Rockets seem to want a lot for. And yet nobody seems to want to give up a lot for him. And that is because of all the things that, you just mentioned. He is coming off an injury. He is an expiring contract. Do you think this is a situation where the Knicks may be coming down the pike and or maybe not the Knicks, where the Rockets may be coming down the pike and it's Thursday at whatever time, 2:30, 2:45, and they just don't have a better offer, and the Knicks are their phone call, and it's like, all right, what's the best thing you got? Or do you get a sense that this is more Victor Oladipo is just not the player that this front office wants to invest any assets in at this point in time?
Well, I'd kind of be guessing on that, but I do think that one of the real issues for the Knicks and anybody else is what's Houston going to want back. And I think when you talk about getting to Thursday, the thing that interests me there is there a team that's contending that says, look, we don't care if we're going to lose Victor this offseason. We need somebody to help us now. Is it like a Boston or a Dallas that says, we'll give you your first, or we'll give you your first and player X. We need help. We don't care if he leaves, and we just need help now. I just wonder if that ends up being the scenario here with Oladipo. As far as the Knicks, that we've said it. I think we've all been saying it for months now. There are people over there who are fans of Oladipo and who see him as a good addition to this roster. I'm still unclear about how the top decision makers feel about Oladipo, but I really don't. I'd be surprised unless the price for Oladipo plummeted. The Rockets said, "Hey, give us something that's much less valuable than what we've been asking for." I would be surprised if the Knicks gave up significant assets to get Oladipo on Thursday.
You talk about something of not a lot of value. I got the sense from your reporting mostly, and I guess from other little drips and drabs around, that at one point, heading into this season, this regime considered Kevin Knox to be something above minimal value, that he was a player that, you're bringing in, Wes is here now, and you're bringing in Kenny Payne and the Kentucky connection, and it's entering year 3 and the whole thing. And yet his name has been bandied about by people looking at the Knicks situation as like, is he the toss-in? My biggest question personally heading into this deadline is whether their internal thinking on Kevin Knox has changed. And I understand I'm again asking you to speculate a little bit, but do you have any sense of if their calculation as far as like, okay, how does Kevin Knox fit into our future plans, if that has altered at all since maybe a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago, anything like that?
Well, I mean, the one thing I do know about, not specifically about Knox, but just in general, I think that you shouldn't take playing time or a player's spot in the Knick rotation as an indication of how Tom Thibodeau feels about that player. I say that because, I was surprised to hear recently that Thibodeau has felt that, Frank Ntilikina, there's something there. Like there's a talent there. And maybe in a different scenario, right situation, surrounded by the right people, you kind of delve into Frank and you get the best out of him. So I was surprised to hear because he hadn't been playing Frank all year, and I just assumed, wow, Tibbs must be very down on Frank. But then, I heard that wasn't the case. So just in terms of Knox, I would say that don't assume that Thibodeau is not a fan of Knox just because he's not playing. Now, that being said, I really couldn't tell you kind of where they are with him right now. But I do think, maybe you feel the same way. If you're talking about realistic assets to move here, you're not talking about future first. You're just talking about players. Knox might be the most valuable if you're not talking about Barrett or Robinson or Randall or people you definitely want to keep, because Knox, still young, still has a year left on his rookie contract. So you're not trading for him with the risk that he's going to walk this offseason. So, I think that he could be the most realistic top trade piece for them. If you package him with something else, maybe you get a veteran back, like a shooter. So I think those are the kinds of deals that are much more likely than the Knicks taking a big swing where they give up a bunch of assets for a player before Thursday. I
was going to pick up on your recent report about Frank, that Tibbs likes him. I think a lot of Knicks fans were happy to hear that. I think when the fan base thinks about the direction of the team and the investment in the youth and the development versus what maybe Thibodeau wants, and if those things are aligned, your own Weissman, who we both love, had a great report a few weeks ago in which he kind of gave a little in-depth on the front office. From your sense, do you get more because again, glass half full, it's like healthy tension, right? You love that healthy tension. Glass half empty, it's people that can't get their stuff straight, and these people want one thing and these other people want the other. On that sliding scale, do you have a sense of where this front office currently is and how they're operating with each other, operating maybe with Tibbs or anything to that effect?
You know what? The only thing that I know is it's what Yaron reported out. And it's the idea that, some people over there wanted a win now roster going into this season. Some people over there wanted to slow play it. Obviously they slow played it. And here they are, vastly defying expectations and sitting here with a pretty good record. I think the plan, the thought, I guess, part of the thinking was, this team could be bad and that's okay, and then let's get a high draft pick. That hasn't happened. But there was a divergence of thought there. I don't think that's uncommon. I really don't. I think, what you see in most organizations is everything's kind of behind the curtains, and publicly everybody looks like they're on the same page. But when you're dealing with, people who are at the top of their profession, who get paid to have strong opinions and analysis about different things, you're going to have different opinions. And I think it's only natural, I think, for the coaching staff to want to win, because the wins and losses are on his resume. And the front office, if they see the opportunity to slow play it, they would prefer to slow play it. I see that as natural. I think where you're going to have a problem, where you could have a problem, is the recent history of this franchise. These little blips have turned into bigger things, and then things go sideways, and then a GM gets fired or a coach gets fired. And I don't think we're anywhere near that yet, because this regime is in its infancy, and they still haven't taken their big swing. But I think that it's something to monitor. I certainly wouldn't put it as a red flag or anything like that. I think it's more the natural course of decision making. But given the Knicks' history and given the position they're in now, these early steps of a rebuild and the important decisions to come, I think it's something you have to keep an eye on.
Everything you're saying, it sounds to me like we're going to have a quiet next 72 hours. Would it, at this point, would you be more surprised if well, let me ask you this. Do you expect what would surprise you more? That there would be no trade at all, or that there would be again, the type of big trade that you've been reporting you don't think is going to happen?
That would surprise me. And again, okay. I mean, my caveat is things can change, and certainly if somebody changes their mind, my name is not on the list of people to inform on that if you're Leon Rose. So I wouldn't get wind of it right away. But certainly that would surprise me. The idea that they would give up, multiple picks and an RJ or a Mitchell and for let's say Oladipo or Zach LaVine, whoever, Bradley Beal, that would surprise me. Now, written it, you guys have talked about it a lot too. They're monitoring Zach LaVine. I think that anytime there is an opportunity there, I think they would, be aggressive in talking to Chicago. I haven't gotten the sense that Chicago is there yet with Zach, and why would they be? But I just don't see it as likely as, they swing for the fences on a deal this Thursday. I think there's going to be a transaction or two. I just don't see that. That would surprise me.
A couple rapid fire ones before I get you out of here. The Knicks player that you would be least shocked if they were not on the roster, whether it's via trade or buyout, let's say a week from now.
Right. And I think Zach Lowe wrote about it today, and it was pretty clear based on how Austin Rivers was talking when the media spoke to him a couple weeks ago. I'd be surprised if he was on the roster after the trade deadline. I think whether it's trade or they work out a buyout, he will be on another team. If not, I'd be surprised. And that means, there's going to be a roster spot for them to do something with, whether it's acquiring a player in a trade or, signing somebody. So that would surprise me if he was here.
Alternative question, I'm giving you your $100 chip to walk into your casino. You could put it on any player in the NBA not currently on the Knicks, and you're going to get you're going to double your money if you get it right. That will be on the Knicks after the trade deadline.
Wow, that's a good one. Let me think for a second. Who would I put my chip on?
It's big money here. It's game changer.
I'm going to go with, I don't want to.
I love the thought that you're giving this. This makes me so happy.
I have some names that I want to.
I don't want to blow up future reporting. So let me maybe not the one.
I'll give it. I want to give a name.
Okay.
Give me a second. All right. I'm gonna put I would put my 100 on JJ Redick, I guess. But I feel like I'm going to lose that money. But either way, that's where I'll go. And I'm giving it to the house.
It's an unfair game. It really is an unfair game. This is the last question for you. You debuted the putback over, I don't know how, it feels like it's been a little while now. It's become such a regular part of my consumption.
I appreciate it, man.
Has it been fun for you to, because you're a reporter's reporter, not that you didn't go on TV occasionally, but like, this is a little bit of a different lane. I mean, media is always changing. We've talked about it, God knows, on this podcast. Has it been fun for you to do these little programs? I mean, these little kind of like bite-sized pieces. You get to talk to fans. You get to talk to well-known people. I've loved it. Do you love it? Because it seems like you're enjoying the hell out of it.
Man, well, first of all, thank you for watching. I appreciate that. I really do. I'm having fun. It's good. Like it's a cool outlet. I think our group at SNY, the producers, everybody on the back end who puts everything together, guys I work with, Mike Wallace, Mike Robinson, co-host Chris Williamson, they're fantastic. They make it easy. They do a great job putting everything together. I've had a lot of fun with it. I think it's fun to just kind of answer questions from fans, to talk to whoever we're talking to kind of just have fun speculating on stuff, and visually they do a great job. So yeah, we definitely had a good time. I hope we can continue our run and just having a good time with it. Would love to have you jump on sometime soon, John, and yeah, we're having a good time with it.
If that happens, I'm just going to retire after that. Don't close your ears, Andrew, because I don't, that's like the high,
Stop.
That's a high.
This is what I'm going to do. When you're newborn, when you get to the phase where they're sleeping 3 hour clips, you'll be in a better place. And then I'm going to ask you. I don't want to do it before then because I know you're in the thick of it.
The weeds are. Can't see the top of the weeds right now.
Yes.
That happens. On that note, you, again, are in the trade weeds. I'm going to let you run one more time. Ian Begley, could you just actually quickly, just so we get it from your mouth, could you remind the folks at home where they could find you and all of your stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. SNY.TV is articles. We have a digital show, The Putback, that's out once a week on Wednesdays. Actually, we're doing a live show on Tuesday at 4 p.m., so be sure to tune in for that. We'll be talking trade deadline stuff. And we're going to do one after the deadline Friday at noon. So that'll be fun. And on Twitter at Ian Begley, IANBEGLEY, just throwing out updates as they come there.
The best of the best, Ian Begley.